In the last couple of days, we've looked at how Paul described a man by the name of Epaphroditus. Epaphroditus had been sent to bring an offering to Paul while Paul was in jail at Rome. Yet, Epaphroditus had gotten sick and Paul was sending him home, most likely carrying this very letter of Philippians with him. Paul wanted the people back home to honor Epaphroditus because of the kind of man he was. We've learned that he was a soldier, a co-worker, and a fellow worker, and a brother. Yet there was something more about him that stood out above everything else that made him such an honorable man. Read it again and notice several key phrases that I'll emphasize. Philippians says, "Meanwhile, I thought I should send Epaphroditus back to you. He is a true brother, co-worker, and fellow soldier. And he was your messenger to help me in my need. I am sending him because he has been longing to see you. And he was very distressed that you heard he was ill." And certainly he was ill. In fact, he almost died. But God had mercy on him and also on me, so that I would not have one sorrow after another. So I am all the more anxious to send him back to you, for I know you will be glad to see him, and then I will not be so worried about you. Welcome him with Christian love and great joy, and give him the honor that people like him deserve. For he risked his life for the work of Christ, and he was at the point of death while doing for me what you couldn't do from far away. If Epaphroditus was anything, he was an unselfish and giving man. Think about it. He left his home. At home, his life was comfortable and safe. The threats of any at home were at least known and manageable. He traveled to see Paul, and it was a long and dangerous trip. It was not like he could catch a plane or a train or even drive a minivan. He walked and he rode an animal. At a lot of personal sacrifice, he walked away from his surroundings to go to Paul's surroundings. It was not like he was going to Rome on a Roman vacation to visit the Vatican. Paul was in jail. Epaphroditus had made this trip to go to a jailhouse to help a prisoner. So many times when our friends get in trouble, we abandon them. Preacher, apostle, it didn't matter. At the moment, Paul was a jailbird. Jails don't do a lot for a person's reputation. I'm sure there were many who started rumors and said that Paul got what he deserved. After all, he's too aggressive. At every stop and at every church, he was always stirring things up, making life uncomfortable for everybody. He was always ending up in jail, being stoned, or run out of town. So associating with Paul was not really safe. Yet Epaphroditus made this long trip to be with a friend, a mentor, and a pastor who was having a hard time. The trip was so difficult that he ended up risking his own life. Paul said he almost died. Think about it. Here was a guy willing to put himself at risk to serve another person. We live in a day and time where convenience and comfort are two of our most cherished commodities. We only come to church if it's convenient. We only serve if it doesn't take too much time or cost too much money. Our first question when called on to help is, how much time is it going to take and how much money is it going to take? How unlike and different from the spirit of Epaphroditus, who put ministry and the cause of Christ above comfort and convenience. We need, all of us do, a higher level of commitment for the cause of Christ in helping others. So I ask, are you willing to serve at the point of being inconvenienced? Are you willing to make personal sacrifices to serve? This is why Paul said he was to be a man that is to be honored. We read nothing about any complaints that Epaphroditus had about his difficulty. The only struggles and complaints we hear about regarding Epaphroditus is he felt sorry and was worried that the people in his home church would be worried about him. Here he is, sick and almost dying, and yet he's worried about the people who sent him and whether they're worried about him. There seems to be a total lack of self-consciousness and self-concern in Epaphroditus' life. He lived for Christ and other people. Many scholars have said that the theme of Philippians is joy. I've heard that joy, when it comes to the book of Philippians, is an acrostic. J-O-Y. J, Jesus first. O, others second. And Y, yourself last. That really does describe Epaphroditus. Perhaps we don't have enough joy in our lives because we're too focused on our own comfort and condition and not focused enough on the concern for Christ and other people. Remember, Jesus taught us that we would find our lives if we were willing to lose our lives. Consider today your willingness to suffer. Think about your own passion for other people. Men are not tied up in selfishness. Men who are not tied up in selfishness are men to be honored. Is that us? Well, here's a thought for today. It's not always about me. Sometime today that ought to come up. It's not always about me. And as we end our devotion, here's a prayer to pray. God, help me to see the needs of others and to be willing to have a whatever it takes attitude to minister to others. Help me not to be so absorbed by my own selfish needs and desires. God bless you today.